everybody, Caleb here, and today we're going to jump in and we're going to talk about youth group games. I got 3 games for you that I highly recommend. They are my favorites, and so the first 2 games are going to be ones that are for in kind of a normal weekly gathering, or if you do youth clubs or anything like that, they're good games for that context. And the last one is my favorite game to play at camps for youth, and so we're going to jump in and we're going to talk these things. But first, really quick, really fast. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, consider doing that. Leave a like on this video maybe, because that's cool. And yeah, appreciate it. Also, by the end, if you have any games that you recommend, comment them down below. Now that that's out of the way, let's jump on in. So the first game that I want to recommend, it's one that's going to cost you basically nothing, honestly, unless you want to do some form of giveaway at the end. One thing that the youth group I have been at has found is that when it comes to doing giveaways for games, it's not always about having like gift cards or super expensive things, but it might just be like a box of chocolates, things like that. There's stuff that students would want to win that isn't always going to cost you a lot of money, but it just might be that they won the game. That's what they want. This first game is called Say Anything. The premise of this game is that you'll have a number of people. You could do 2 people one-on-one. That's usually what I would recommend if you're kind of doing it in a service type environment, or if you're in maybe more of a club kind of at a school environment, you might pick 5 or 6 students. So let's say you've picked 2 students. What you do is you have them stand facing each other, and what you have them then do is they just say anything. They're going back and forth, each saying one word. So one person might say computer, then phone, then bowl, then speaker. Like they're just going back and forth saying words. The first person to go, or like they just have some form of break in what they're trying to say, they're gonna get a piece of tape, clear just like Scotch tape, put over their face. It's gonna make them look kind of funny, and then they go again. Once somebody has 3 pieces of tape on their face, they are out. And so if it's a one-on-one game, after that first person gets 3 pieces of tape on, they're out, the other person wins. If you're doing a giveaway, they get their prize, or you're just celebrating, clapping for them, that sort of a thing. And so I have done this now in a group setting where it's kind of in a service, and it went really well. And I've also had a group get to lead it at a campus club that we do, and it was received there too, with a little bit of a larger group. So that's the first game I recommend. The second game I recommend, I don't know the formal name for it, but I call it cup kick. So basically what you do is you're going to have a bunch of cups. I actually try to get they're probably about this big, maybe 32 ounce, more like soup cups. And so what you do is you get the cup, you will take your students and you're gonna pair them up in pairs of 2, and then they will get a cup from you or whoever the game leader is. Then what you do is you set that cup in between the 2 people playing. Then it becomes a game of Simon Says, basically. And so you'll start saying body parts. You're going like head, shoulders, knees, toes, elbows, shoulders, that sort of a thing. And at some point, you're gonna say cup. When you say cup, the first one to grab the cup and have it in their hand wins. Usually I tell our students that they can, however they get the cup, they win. So sometimes people will kick it and they run and dive after it, that sort of a thing. And so as you have people winning and they're getting their cup and all of that stuff, you then have them pair up with another person that won. I usually have them stack the cups, so slowly they just get a bigger and bigger and bigger stack that they're playing with until you're down to your final 2 people, and then you have them go for the final round. You can add some variation by making them take 2, 3, 4 steps back from the cup, that sort of a deal, just to make it a little bit more exciting or a little bit more difficult, that kind of a thing. And so that is how you do the cup game. It's a fun game, it's active. This is a game where everybody can play. And so if you have some students that don't want to play, you can just always tell them, hey, just jump on in. If you want to keep playing, you can. If you don't want to, just lose. Just don't grab the cup. It's an easy way to get that participation without forcing students to stay involved in the game if that's just not their thing. And so that was the second game. The third game that I have for y'all is one that I love for summer camp or winter camps or any kind of just like retreat type environment for students. When you have a longer amount of time, you have to have a good number of leaders, and you're out there just ready to kind of, I don't know, get out there and have a really active game. This game is called Death Ball. Now don't worry, kids should not die as long as you have good leaders. And that's the key to this, actually, I think. You need to have some leaders that are able to direct your students well, but the premise of the game is you will have a yoga ball, big, just yoga ball, in the middle of a field. You'll have them broken up into teams. And so as they're broken up into their teams, you can have 2 teams, 3 teams, 4 teams, 6 teams, 7 teams, however many you want. as long as you have the space for it, and you make a circle around this ball, and then each of them has a trash can. So every team has a trash can, and then they have one yoga ball in the middle. And then whoever your game director is, they'll shout out the number of students to send out. So you might have junior hires and high schoolers mixed. So they might say 2 junior high boys. And then you have junior high boys from each team represented. And then when they do 3, 2, 1, they run to the middle. Usually we have our leaders throw the ball in the air, so it's not just in the middle there on the ground where they could like collide into it. It's thrown in the air, they run in, and they're trying to get the ball, and however they can, then get it back to their garbage can. Usually placed on top of it. Sometimes we'll play where if you get it on top of the garbage can, that's 2 points. If it hits the can, that's 1 point. It's just kind of a game where you have some variation. But the reality is, this is a game where people get hurt. We call it death ball because it sounds extreme, but we have in our youth ministry a lot of amazing leaders that are good at pumping up our students to be competitive and to have fun, but not too much to where they're going out there and hurting each other. So if you do not have enough leaders to make sure that can take place, or if you're worried about injuries, maybe don't do this game. We've done it a whole lot, and we've actually only had injuries take place usually with our leaders when they're doing maybe a leader round and they're getting a little into it. And so those are my 3 games to recommend. Games can be a hard thing to find that we know work well and do good. There are plenty of games that I have tried and we have tried to do well in our youth ministry, and they just don't always land. So these are 3 games that we have done that have always done well, that have always been received well, and honestly, we have people ask us to do again. And so those are my recommendations. Comment any questions you have below. I'll be checking the comment section on this pretty regularly just to make sure things are being answered. And also comment any games that you have that maybe I'm not aware of and other people would like to be able to jump in and start doing. Again, games are amazing within youth ministry, especially at churches. Like, our content should be deep, it should be diving in, but we can also have an amazing and fun time. And so thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. We have a lot of other content. Recently, we did a video about how to write messages for junior hires, so check that out if you're interested in that kind of a thing. And right now, this channel is in the middle of a 60-day upload challenge. So if you would like to subscribe to the channel, like this video, get joined in, and don't miss out on any of the content we're going to be having coming your way. So with that being said, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you tomorrow.